Welcome to the Wildly Free Podcast. I'm your host, Hannah Plord, business mentor, 3-times founder, and marketing nerd. On this podcast, you'll learn how to break free from the traditional job world and pave your own path so that you can go all in on life. Grab your favorite warm drink and pull up a chair as we talk all things marketing, growth, strategy, and the real and raw sides of entrepreneurship. Hello, everybody. I am super excited because today we're going to be talking about creating highly converting content with special guest, Nora Virginia. Her tag is at I am Nora Virginia. All right, so she should be coming on very soon. I'm super excited to talk about this because I have been on a content kick.
There we are. I'm putting my light on. Hi,
how are you?
good. How are you? I'm excited to chit chat today.
Yes, I'm great. I always forget that when you split half, it changes where you are in the camera.
It literally cuts you in half every single time. I totally agree. I'm always like, wasn't expecting that one.
Yeah, exactly. So cool. Oh, I see my friend Kat is here. Hi, Kat.
Hi, Kat.
I did a masterclass this morning talking about content and everything. So this is a great segue.
I love that.
Love seeing people jump from thing to thing. So yeah, Nora, why don't you give us a quick introduction of who you are? Maybe tell us a quick story of your entrepreneurial journey and there.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm Nora and I'm a spiritual life and business coach. So I help people scale to 6 figures in their business and multiple 6 figures through combining simple business strategies with spirituality. And my journey was I worked in corporate for like almost a decade, like a lot of us. I actually did finance, which is so different, and quit during the pandemic to do spiritual coaching. And when I first started spiritual coaching, I would say that I worked with a lot of business coaches that took like more of like the strictly like manifestation approach. And I wasn't like learning like any strategy really. And while that was helpful, and I think that the energetics are so important and that I still teach those things, I had a lot of trouble in my business basically because I just like literally didn't know what I didn't know. So fast forward and I started learning a lot of like the timeless business strategies that like not only work in our industry, but like work across all industries. I always say, and I'm sure you feel the same way, that like the strategy doesn't even change like the level that you're at in your business. It's literally just like refining and mastering it, and that it's quite basic and simple once you like ground it in. So anyways, my business like blew up when I really started to truly combine the two, which is kind of what led me to what I do now, because I am really passionate about identity work. And like you have to become the version of you that already has the results that you're seeking and have the confidence and have, you know, all of those things tapped into. But we also need to like implement the business strategy. And it's only when you have a beautiful blend of both of those things that you can really get far in your business as well.
Yeah, that's so funny. We almost have different experiences because I felt like I knew the strategy.
That's so funny.
So I like kind of knew what I had to be doing, and I had run 2 businesses before that, and I like learned how to, you know, market myself and all the things. But then I was hiding behind the strategy, and I really needed to step into like being the version of myself that was successful and believing in myself no matter what the external confirmation was. So it's so interesting talking to someone who's like a complete opposite. You know, you didn't have the strategy, you had the more energetic side. I had the strategy and needed the energetic side, but yet here we both are still kicking it, still doing amazing work and helping. And I think we both agree that you need both, right?
Yes, I feel like we totally align on that. Yeah, I think everyone's different. I mean, I know a lot of people that definitely were like, hi, Paige. So many people are hopping on. Yeah. I know a lot of people that definitely started with like very like left brain hustle mindset coaches, super, super strategy. And we're really like craving a lot of like the energetics and the confidence and then the identity work. And that's why I really think that like the secret sauce is like a beautiful blend between the two. And that's really when we get farthest in our business too.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people are always out there searching for like the next strategy. But like you said, the strategy literally never changes. You just refine every level. So once you master the strategy, it's all about tapping in to the identity work and the confidence work. So I'm curious, today's live stream, we want to talk more about creating content that converts. So we know we have to post. We know we need to post that speak directly to our audience so that they feel activated and convert. But what is the strategy, or what does the refining process look like in your content for each level that you're at?
Yeah. So I think to take a step back, depending on who's joining and where you're at in your business, the thing that I see most early on with business owners on why their content doesn't convert is because they don't really understand like who they're talking to yet on the deepest level. So the most important thing that I think you can do in your business is market research in the beginning. And I still do this actually in my business to this day. I just did this week, and I was like, oh my God. And this is where I get all of my messaging for my content, my programs. Like, it's why my launches are so big, is because I do a lot of work behind the scenes and within my own clients to really understand my ideal client inside and out. So most people aren't getting specific enough with their client. They don't know on a level, like when that client wakes up in the morning, like what is their biggest fear? What are they worrying about at night? Like, what do they really, really like want? Like, what is holding them back? What do they not even know is holding them back? Like, what do they think the solution is, and what is actually the solution? Like, there's all of these different things. And I think that in order for a piece of content to convert, number one, like, you really need to know who your client is and to be able to speak to them in that way. The second thing that I would say is specific with examples. Like, I always teach my clients that you should be able to watch on a movie screen, like what's going on in your messaging, basically. Like, if you're like, listen to your intuition, it's like, well, what does that look like? It's like, no, walk people through the story of like, you're spiraling because you can't make this decision on X, Y, and Z. And then you sit down on your meditation mat, and then you get a feel for like, wait, this is my yes. And then you have this epiphany. Like, storytelling and like getting really visual is very, very important with that. So I think that there's that piece too. I think not to go too far deep into this, but another thing, you talked about refinement and the levels that you're at. It's like, your language is so important. If you don't want to attract people that can't invest, then like, stop talking to people that can't invest. Like, there's things like that. It's like, even my client the other day, she's like wanting to kind of help people with self-sabotage, but we took that out of her messaging because we're like, we don't want to like attract like victim mindset, anyone that needs hand holding. Like, we need to talk about, yes, the same thing, but in a totally different way. So I think that the specific language that you use really is going to speak to a different type of client too, from like just a quality and a characteristic standpoint. And then the last two things that I'll say is like, hooks are important because people have low attention spans. So whether it's your video or the first 3 words that you say, people need to be sticking around. You need to know how to write, whether it's a podcast title, an IG live title, like the front of your post, a B-roll, reel, whatever it is. You need to be able to pull people in so that they actually see the value in the post. And then the last piece, I think, is over delivering in value. People are not going to not pay you because they're getting information from your post. That's why they're going to pay you to go deeper. But when you hold back in your like content and you're not actually providing people tools and value, like, I get messages all the time that's like, your content's been so good and I learned so much from your content, so this is why I want to like join this program. And it's like, yes, they're going to get so much more in the program, but it's because I'm literally providing like mini breakthroughs and activations through my content, basically. So I guess those are like the 5 things that I think about most.
Yeah, for sure. We're very aligned. I call it my main character messaging because
love that.
We're not the main character. Our audience is, and you need to be tell their story, which is something you mentioned, which I love, because a lot of people out there, when they're doing storytelling, they're telling their own story, which is valuable and great. But your clients, your audience are out there asking, what's in it for me? And if they don't see themselves in your story, if you're not telling if you're not sharing your content in a compelling way that's for them, what's in it for them, they're gonna be like, okay, great, good for you. And that's why you get all those emoji comments and girl comments, but no one's actually buying because you're too much in your content and it's not for your audience. I really love that point that you made.
It's making your story theirs. So like how I teach this is similar. It's like, yes, tell your story, but then turn it around and say, look, I know you've experienced this same thing and I know you want this. And I know you were in the same place as me where you had these thoughts and were stuck. And I'm going to teach you in X, Y, and Z how I got through it. So, like, to your point, it's like, yes, open it up with your story, but the point of the message is actually turning it around and making it their story of like what they're going through right now.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So what would you say if someone's been posting, and I'm curious what you're saying. Someone's been posting consistently. Maybe they're posting, they follow the advice of post 3 times a day for TikTok, post 5 times a week on Instagram, and they feel like they're doing everything right, but they aren't seeing that progress in their content. What would you look for if you're doing like a client review or something, or a content review? What would be like the big thing? Is it just messaging?
Yeah. So, okay. So I think one thing I do want to say, and I'm sure that people know this, but it's just such a reminder, is that like consistency in your content and even followers do not equate to money. Like there's people that are posting 3 times a day or that have hundreds of thousands of followers that aren't making money. And even me, like I have 10 times the following on TikTok, and I grew that following when I was like really not understanding my niche and how to message for the niche and what the power was of what I was providing. And I have 10 times the followers, but I've made very little sales from TikTok because at that point I wasn't using it right. And I wasn't like using my content to sell. So if I were to go and audit someone's Instagram, like from a high level, well, one thing I actually do think is important is in this mixed reviews is bios. Like if I want to go to, and I've changed my view on this recently. I used to be like, who cares about your bio? But the thing is that if someone's going to go look at your page and they see your reel, they're going to look at it for 3 seconds and they have to understand what you do. So if you're using a ton of industry language like confidence and intuition and wealth and like a bunch of flashy words, then this person is like, is this for me? Is this going to help me? Like they don't know. So I start with that of like, can I even tell what this person does? And then I literally skim their content and I'm like, I should be able to click in a post and be able to tell like pretty quickly who you work with, what you do, what you help people with, like what you help get them out of it. Like what are your transformational outcomes? And I shouldn't have to go digging to like try to piece that together and figure it out. So that's kind of like how I do an audit is for me right off the bat, it's actually less about like the aesthetics and like the hook and like the traditional branding stuff. And it's more, can I go to your page and quickly identify this is for me and this is speaking to me, or I can tell exactly who you're talking to. And if I can't get a sense of like 60 seconds by going through someone's page, then that's why, you know, part of the reason why it's not converting would be like the first thing. And then the second thing is that you also, in my opinion, your content should be congruent to whatever you're selling, right? So your content is made to sell your offers. So say you're selling a business program on that thing, and when you're actually selling it should be about launch strategy, right? It should be about the program. It should basically be all of your messaging for whatever you're selling at any point in time within post, talking about it from different angles too. And sometimes I see too, there's a disconnect where like we're putting out all the content, but it has nothing to do with our offers. It has nothing to do with what we're selling. It's randomly put together based on what we think might go viral. And as a result, we're here on our story selling one thing, but in our content, we're not actually talking about that thing in the way that we need to be. So I think the connection between like whatever you're selling is literally what your content should be about in every moment. And that's how I tell my clients to plan their content too, is like from a content strategy, it's like, okay, what am I selling? What are the key messaging points that I want to hit through my selling? Then create the hook and then go into the value. Like it kind of starts from the top with like, what am I selling?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I think a lot of people think that they have to be in the season of a launch to thing, but you're always selling. When you're creating content, the whole point of it is to drive people, and you don't have to be trapped in these cycles of you sell really hard for 4 weeks and then you take a break and then you're done. And then you go back in, you sell really hard for 4 weeks. Like every single time, like a launch does not have to mean that you're creating content that's not valuable and people aren't getting from it. They should be getting value, like you said earlier, that the more you give value, the more people want to work with you, not the other way around. Exactly. Like you don't lose value when you're selling. Your clients, your audience should be getting so much value that they're like, oh my gosh, I want to learn more from Nora. I want to know all the things she has to give to tell me in this offer. I have to join. That is what makes it a no-brainer offer, not the 3 one-on-one calls, the group calls,
Yeah.
the workbook, whatever. It's the fact that you over deliver your value.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I loved what you said too about like, it's not just when you're launching, because it's so important. Like sometimes I call this like, it's like hit it and quit it. It's like, okay, if someone's like texting you that you're trying to date and then all of a sudden they start ghosting and then like they start to like text you again, right? It's like people do notice when you're only like selling during a launch and then you just drop off in your content every other time. And that's really consistent. And like in coaching with what we all do, it's like it's literally about building relationships above everything else, and people have to know and feel like you care and that it's not so transactional too. And I think too, even when we talk about selling, like making the distinction that I sell every single day in my business, and it doesn't mean I'm like always launching, but selling is offering your free thing, right? It's offered like it doesn't have to be this massive launch. Like you should always have something in your business, free or paid, that you can offer your audience in order to go deeper on any given topic too. Otherwise, they don't know what to do from your content.
Yeah, exactly. Otherwise, you're just posting just a post, and we're business owners. This isn't just a hobby. This is like a storefront for us. We're trying to get people in the door. What's in the door for you? A freebie, your email list, a program, a paid program. But there's always that end destination. It starts with your funnel, attracting new people to your world, like consuming your content, loving you, wanting to learn more, and then they need to take the next step, which would be the freebie or whatever the next step is for you.
Yep. I could not agree more. It's like yeah, and I want people to understand too that like of course people can like come to your page and that they can like sign up with you immediately off of things too, but I think it's also helpful to remember that like you're building a reputation with your content over time, right? It's not always like start my Instagram and get sales the next day. It's like, well, people want to like really get to know you and feel you. And it's like I taught the sales energetics training recently, which was like a huge analogy about like sales and like how it compares to like dating someone, and that there's these different levels. So like allow yourself to like build relationships with people and help show who you are and what you do and the results your clients get and all of that kind of stuff through your content. It's like literally your portfolio at the end of the day too. And I don't think people take it seriously enough because people aren't always seeing your post weeks later, but like reshare your content, your stories. I do that all the time and it starts to pick up again. And it's because it's like this library of beautiful information, but you have to also love your content if people are gonna love it. It's like a mirror,
Yeah, exactly. There are big disconnects with people when they're creating content, the basic stuff of like 3 steps to do this, 3 reasons why you need to hire a Facebook ad, or, the very basic stuff. Hi. And when you're posting that, you're not excited about it. Your audience isn't excited about it because they can just Google that. They want you to go deeper with them. And it always goes back to the value. When I remember when before this, I was a social media manager and before like 2020, and I was doing done for you social media work. And when I got booked out and I had literally no more time on my calendar, I thought, well, what if I try to teach my methodologies? Like I was doing Pinterest management. What if I teach Pinterest management in like a group program? And I had that fear of, well, if I give away my strategy, no one will want to work with me for my done for you service. And the opposite happened. Like I actually created this genius funnel because I got people in on a group level. So I got 10 people in. I was way undercharging. We won't talk about that. I was way undercharging, but I got 10 people in and they realized how much work I put in to get this, that they were like, I'm not able to do this. And they hired me for my done for you service. So giving value in your content is not going to cut off people, especially if you are a coach, because they can, implement your strategies, your steps, whatever. They can get transformations from your content, but they will always want that personalized support.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at my account and give me actual personalized, steps to take, not just generalized strategies.
Yeah, I love that because you're so right. It's like you can Google the strategy and the value and all of like the how-to stuff at the end of the day, But why people end up working with someone beyond just the value that they're getting is like, it's accountability, it's implementation, it's actually coaching once they're implementing the things and what's going right and what's going wrong. And I love how that funnel worked out for you, because I think it's so important. And it also really speaks to like client retention. Because if you're giving someone a really good experience, of course they're going to want to keep working with you in a deeper way. And another thing too on this too is sometimes that people think that they're like, then they're over giving, I think, in their content and like have nothing left to give. But I always say there's like a difference between over giving energy and over delivering energy, because over giving energy is like, I'm not good enough, so I have to pile on more things. And even like what you mentioned with like the features, like more calls, more this, more this, it's like, that's over giving a lot of the times, coming from the energy of what I have is not yet enough. But over delivering is coming from the space of like, I know what I have is valuable and I'm here for also service and impact, whether someone's going to pay me today, tomorrow, or never too. So like, this also makes me think of like timelines and like, you know, I've had clients that have said no to me for years sometimes and then came back 2 years later, right? And it's the importance again of like continuously providing this value over time through your content and taking that process seriously as well.
Yeah, I literally just this morning, I was talking to someone pretty seriously on TikTok who was interested in me, and then they ghosted. And this was probably like 6 months ago, but that's the nature of TikTok. So I was like, whatever. And I kind of wrote it off as a lost cause and moved on. But literally this morning, they sent me messages. They're like, hey, I was moving and now I'm ready to get back into it. So you never know what people are doing. Speaking of TikTok, so I'm curious, if you're watching this live, tell us which platform you market on. And if you do TikTok and Instagram or a mixture, let us know. But I know you said that you're on TikTok, and at first your followers are way more than here on Instagram, and it wasn't converting as well as Instagram. Yeah. So I'm curious how you approach converting content on TikTok versus Instagram, because I'm the same way. I have way more followers on TikTok, but for a while I was struggling to convert there, and I'm still, it's like still work in progress. It's always learning, adapting, but I'm curious to hear your experience.
Yeah, so I actually don't really use TikTok anymore, and part of the reason why is because I blew up on it a couple years ago for manifestation, like strictly manifestation and mindset work. I wasn't even business coaching or anything like that. And how, at least this isn't a perfect rule, but a lot of the times, and this is what I've seen in my TikTok, is if I post something around manifestation and mindset, it'll go viral. If I'm talking about what I'm doing now, which is business coaching, it'll fall flat a lot of the times. And it's not because, it's because those people didn't follow me for that, basically, right? Like, not to say, like, I'm sure there's plenty of business owners in my following, like there could still be, but when I think about, you know, like where my business business clients mostly are, they have been on Instagram, and I haven't like gone back and tried to like revive my TikTok, so I can't really say, to be honest. But what has worked for me is every time I have signed on clients from TikTok, and I guess I have gotten a couple of business owners, but it's always been trying to direct them actually back to my Instagram. Like, something that was harder for me with TikTok is I think it's easier for your videos to pick up. I think it's easier to grow your following. I think your content lives a little bit longer and gets circulated and stuff like that too. I was seeing the same thing that you mentioned with like the ghosting and like the commenting, but then people don't show up for calls and then they're not actually buying, and like less of a serious buyer. Again, this can all just be my internal story. But what I found was that when people were hopping over from TikTok to Instagram, the nurturing was a little bit more seamless, I guess, on Instagram for me. Like, you can DM with people more, like it felt a little bit more intimate to me. So that was kind of like the biggest thing for me, I think, was making them like jump over. But again, I don't have a perfect answer because I've never like tried to get my business coaching to like do well on TikTok, because I'm very much a master one platform at the time type of person. And I have a lot of business on Instagram, so I haven't necessarily needed to tap into that. And right now I'm focused on growing my Instagram as well. But I'm curious to hear your answer.
Yeah, no, that was really good.
Yeah.
And Paige said that they use both TikTok, and TikTok is easier to grow and interact with people. Yeah, I like Instagram platform way better. Yeah, so I kind of have a similar experience to you. So I had one account, and it was when I was just focusing on helping virtual assistants grow, because when I first transitioned from Done For You into this, I just focused on freelancers and mostly virtual assistants and social media managers. So, and I actually went mega viral a few different times, but I did not know how to control the virality. And I brought in a lot of the victim mindset, the people that just wanted to escape their 9 to 5 job. And now looking back at it with the lens that I know now, messaging was way off. So I actually stopped using that one and I started a new one. And it's been so interesting because you definitely can, every single time you post, you have a new opportunity to reach new people, to grow, and just like, you know, carve out a new space on TikTok. But I do the same thing. I have a link, and my strategy for TikTok, because I find, and again, this might be my own story, I find most of the people are newer beginners and they're looking for the more basics. So I use TikTok to get people into my freebies and to get people into my low ticket membership where they can learn my methodology and get to know me more. And then they work up my pipeline from there. But when I'm having a direct DM conversation with them, I almost always ask, do you have Instagram?
Yeah.
Can we hop on voice messages? Because, you know, even with TikTok, you can't even, you know, separate the paragraphs when you're messaging. You have to send it, and I don't like that. So I just ask them if they prefer, if we can go to Instagram or not. So yeah, it sounds like we're on the same page. I do see a lot of people use TikTok, and it works so well for them. And it's been a labor of love for me. I post mostly, I do like 2 to 3 times a day. I've been very consistent with it for a year now. And it's like second nature to me. It takes me 5 minutes to create videos. So it's almost like, why give it up if it's doing something? Yeah. Most of my clients do come from Instagram.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's so true. It's like, it's important with consistency on because I always tell people, like, when I went viral on TikTok, it was because I was posting 3 times a day. And I love telling people that because it's like, it's a labor of love. Like, if you continue to show up regardless of the platform you're on and learn how to use it appropriately, then it doesn't take a lot of time. 1, 2, it gets easier over time, but then 3, inevitably, like, it starts working too. So I love that. I'm curious, is it still, I remember when I was using it more, like, you couldn't message people unless you were both following each other. Is that true? Yeah. I hated that. Yeah.
Yeah, because people would comment your trigger word, say like DM me or comment content for information, and then they would, but they don't follow you, so then they don't get your message, and they're like, well, Hannah doesn't respond. Yeah. Totally. That is definitely frustrating. My strategy behind that has been to just follow them first and hope they follow me back. But were you there when they introduced stories to TikTok?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Stories are so weird. That has been like mind-boggling to me because just to be like vulnerable and behind the scenes. Yeah. Sometimes you post and it will get thousands of views, a story, tons of. Other times you post and it will get 3. Like, I'm not kidding.
So
I've had
strange
views. I'm like, I just got one that had thousands of views. What's the difference? I've tried different times a day. Yeah. It's really, it just seems totally random.
Yeah, it's the algorithm is like such a game. Yeah. And I love your attitude towards it too, because I think it's so important, like, regardless of where you're playing and how many places, like, having this more fun experiment attitude towards it is really important too, because that's what allows you to show up consistently. Is you're like, yeah, this is like really weird sometimes and I hate this part of it, but like, it's a labor of love and I'm going to keep doing it and it's doing something. And I think that that's the attitude that we have to have. First step, like, we're talking about creating highly converting content, but like, you can't do that consistently if you're not in the playful energy of like, I'm testing this. I'm not going to take every single story view personally. I'm not going to get mad if someone doesn't buy my offer. It's like, it really comes back to like the energetic foundations, honestly. If you want to start converting your content, it has to come from a place of like, I'm not going to throw in the towel like the second it's not working. And I just totally got that from what you said, which I love.
Yeah, that's the major theme of my masterclass that I was doing earlier. It was called Compound Growth, because you cannot grow if you're getting attached to the story. And an analogy that I used was, I have a background in science, and when you're doing experiments, you have a hypothesis, but there are no real, or there's no right or wrong outcome of an experiment. There's no true, like, this is it. It's just a hypothesis. We can make guesses. At the end of the day, what happens, it happens. So when you, and I encourage my clients to treat it like an experiment as well. When you create content, you don't know what's going to happen. It might go viral. It might not. this one might get 200 views, the next one might get 6,000 views. Like, you really don't know. And if you continue to let that story of, oh, I only got 200 views, oh, I only got 1 like, oh, it's the same 5 people watching my stories, that's going to hinder your actions that you take. And the less actions you take, the less progress you get, the less growth you get. So the more playful you can be, like you said, the more you experiment, you never know. Oh, it's exciting. Like, what if this happens? What if this happens? Interesting. My audience didn't like this as much as they like it. Let's use this more. It really becomes a game, and it gets to be fun. It's like you're experimenting. You don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, I love that. And I think it like really helps too to go back to like why we're doing it. It's like, if you're just posting content to go viral, then you're probably not in your business for the right reasons, in my opinion. Like, you're creating content to change someone's life. Like, if your post or reel gets 5 likes and you change one person's life on one day, or they decide to start something new, or they have a breakthrough from it, like, that should be enough. And I also think it's so important to like pull the human factor back into it of like, 10 people just paused in their day to hit love on your post or read your caption and commented. Like, even from a manifestation standpoint, like, if there's no gratitude under the engagement that you are getting and like the interaction and the fact that 2 people are liking your post, you're not going to be an energetic match to go viral. So like, a lot of this does come back to like service and impact too. And also just like seeing beyond the like numbers that we're all trying to get to that feel so egotistical sometimes, and really remember that like we're here to transform lives, and that like these numbers are people too. Like these views are like 1,000 views, boo hoo. It's like 1,000 people just watch your reel. Excuse me? Like,
yeah, I talk about this from a community standpoint, but imagine your social media is just an empty room. Well, not empty. There's a room full of 400 followers, or the 1,000 people just liked your reel. And they're all kind of like lurking on their phone, feeling awkward, looking around, but they're not interacting with each other. It's up to you to like welcome them and be excited about each new person that joins the room and to talk to them. And like, that is, we can talk about community if you want in content, because your content also needs to be community building and making people feel welcome and making them, taking yourself off the pedestal and making them feel like they can do it too.
Yeah, that's a huge part of community, I think, is no one wants to be pedestaled at the end of the day. And you can kind of feel that in people's content when it's like the I'm better than you approach. And when I love to remind, my clients is it's like the same thing. It's like the point of, again, like if everyone watching is a coach, it's like you're here to like share your journey, to show what's possible for other people and to be evidence and remind them that like you're actually no different than they are right now, and teach them what you know. People feel your heart so much in your content and your business. Like, I mean, everyone sitting here can think about it. Like, you can feel if someone's in their heart in their business and on their social media versus the person that's maybe just like trying to like grow their following or like hit a certain milestone in their business or whatever. Like, you feel that difference. And I know for me and for my clients, like I did some market research with them the other day of like, what do you like in content? And like, what makes you like follow someone and like all of that kind of stuff. And a lot of the answers had to do with like authenticity. I love when people, I can tell they're just not trying to go viral. And I love seeing typos in people's content actually. And I love when it's sloppy and they mess up their words and it's not aesthetic and it's raw and they're just doing it because they care. And it's like that stuff goes so far. And even though we're all on our phones, like, you can't fake the energy at the end of the day too.
Yeah, I love that. I had a question pop in my head, and it's a very interesting one, I think. So if you had to give like your biggest, maybe not biggest, but most impactful thing that you've done that's not normal for your growth, and I can give you my example if you want, like out of the box growth idea that you never expected would impact your social media growth, what would it be?
Good question. I'm going to say 2 things if that's okay. So the one thing I do is I do a lot of this stuff. Like, I do a lot of collaborations, like cross promotion. I was doing that before I even realized it was like a strategy for growth, just because I'm like such a networker at heart. And I've never had a video pick up on Instagram. Like, I've grown my community and my business and everything literally just organically, like never any ads, never going viral from content. But then also the second thing that I was just talking about is making genuine relationships. So I literally have a network of like 50 entrepreneurs that if I'm doing a masterclass, I'll shoot them a message on stories and they'll tag it. It's like, okay, if all 50 of those people reshare my stuff and I do it for them in return, they have one person that's 50 extra people that literally just signed up for my masterclass and get on my email list or are now in my community. And that's so underrated. And I think people are like, why would other people share my stuff? But I really don't believe in competition because we're all so unique. And it's like, I'll share another business coach's stuff. I don't care. Like, I'm not afraid. Like, we're all so different. And a lot of the people that I collaborate with kind of have that view too. So we kind of like have that network with each other, which has been such a secret weapon. And then the other thing is that my client retention is really high. It's at like 99% in terms of like my client repeat rate, meaning that I've only had 2 out of like hundreds of clients that haven't worked with me in multiple ways, basically, like back to back or resigned or whatever the case may be, which is incredible. And that's also like it's a strategy right in itself too. I'm not relying on like I need a bunch of new clients and community at all times because I know that my people are like loyal and they love me and they stay with me. But also word of mouth goes so far. So like I had one of like my clients like share something and say something nice about me, and I had someone sign up for like my mastermind that was like $7,000 at the time, and she never even met me, and she literally on the call was like, you could have gotten on the call, Nora, and said like Cheerios and it wouldn't have mattered. Like I just value my friends' feedback so much that it didn't matter. So I think that those are like my 2 biggest things, and I'm curious to hear yours.
Yeah, mine's so different. I love that. Yeah, I love collaborating with people. I love meeting new people. You never know who you can find. And I remember early on in my career, I spent a lot of time in Facebook groups, a lot of time talking to people. And even if that person didn't become a client, they did a really good job at recommending people for me, or vice versa. I'd recommend people to them. Being done for you, it's like, oh, people come to me for Facebook management. I don't do Facebook management, but I know this person who's amazing. And every single coach or whatever occupation you have here specializes in something. So if you are, a rock star at creating scalable offers, then someone's going to know you for that and recommend it to you. So I love that. And yeah, there's no such thing as competition. You never know from people. My answer. So last summer, for the first time, had this opportunity to move off the grid, and this I thought was going to really stagnate my business. I thought it was going to make me a hard time for me to show up and post and serve my clients. And the opposite happened. I had to get really smart with the actions I took. So I was able to detach a lot from the outcome, the results, and also just be more present in my life. So instead of posting something and then spending a long time refreshing the notifications and like engaging with people or redoing my website for the 100th time, I just like posted, locked my phone in my cabin, went outside, like was present, had a good time. I'd come back and be so excited and surprised by the outcome. And I was able to find like basically the 4 core things that I'd focus on every single day. And anything extra is extra. Like you don't need to do. It was really cool. I got to detach from any conversation that I had because I like had everything covered where I was living, and I only had a small amount of time that I had to work on my business. So like every single minute that I got to spend in it was like so exciting, and I loved it. So yeah, it was basically a quantum leap because I went from, having an office with like my own private room, an office I could close the door and, I had Wi-Fi at all hours of the day. I had a phone, a laptop, an iPad, and then go to this one tiny room shack basically with a bed in one corner, a little table, a window that didn't even have a screen or glass or anything, no bathroom.
Wow.
And that was my new reality, and it was really, really fun and expansive, and I'm doing it again this summer, so I'm really excited.
Where
did
you move to? Like,
so I'm in New Hampshire. I don't know where you are in the world.
I'm in Florida, but go on.
Oh yeah. But I'm in New Hampshire in the mountains, and I was off grid in Vermont. So my partner lives at he's worked and gone to the summer camp for almost 30 years. I think it's 25 years, possibly this year. And he goes there every single summer. And I had the opportunity to go for literally 5 years, said no because I was working on my business, finally said yes. And it was such a great decision for myself.
I love that. And I'm curious, you mentioned, I think like 4 core activities that you were focused on every day. What were those for you, if you're open to sharing?
Oh yeah, for sure. So posting content, so getting in front of new people, selling my offer, bring people in, and then posting, selling, engaging with my community and clients, and then was just energetics and building my confidence.
I love that. Isn't it so funny how sometimes we think we need to like work a million hours and work on the website and have the perfect like blah blah blah, but it literally comes down to like, do you have an offer to sell? Are you selling every day? Are you posting content? It's like, it doesn't have to be as complex. So I love that. And I feel like so many people are going to be able to relate because you literally just like double down on being like focused and efficient. And I know myself included, like we can all do more of that. And it really like gets down to like, okay, what are like the core activities that you need to be doing and cutting out a lot of the noise that I think people think that they need to be doing. And it's like, what actually moves the needle? Yeah.
Yeah, cool. For sure. When I started doing Done For You, any moment that I wasn't in my business, like applying to new jobs, talking to new clients, I had a little nugget of guilt of like, this could be a client.
Yeah.
And when I transitioned to coaching, I replaced, I was booked out, Done For You, wasn't booked out immediately as a coach. And I like just filled that void with busy work, working on my website, perfecting my graphics, whatever, engaging on social media for hours. And that stuff, it works in moderation, but at the end of the day, you don't need to be spending hours on busy work. There's just really those 4 core things that you need to be working on. And if you can perfect those 4 things or get like increasingly better, there's no such thing as perfection, especially with the changing algorithms these days.
Yeah.
But if you continuously work to get better at those 4 things, let that be enough. It does not need or go live your life, go have fun. And I promise you'll come back and be surprised by how many notifications you have and people in your DMs. And
absolutely,
it's a snowball effect.
Yeah, it's such a lesson of that, like living your life to the fullest and like just focusing on like having fun and being happy outside of your business and living a full life outside of your business goes so far. I've had like so many times where my like highest months have been months where I literally like barely worked because I was on like a 3-week vacation or whatever it was. And I think that there is that fear. It's because I know I was always conditioned from like my background to be like more equals more. And that's something that I've had to unravel a lot over the years. But I do think that as clients, and I feel this way too about the people I hire, like I don't just want to hire people that are like making money in their business. I want to hire people that love what they do and they love what their life, they love their life and they have like this full life. So I would imagine like you were doing less, right? But you were also probably like such a happy, full version of you, and people can feel and see that too. And they're attracted to that energy too.
Yeah, definitely. And on TikTok, it made for a great story.
Sure. Yes.
Yeah, this has been so great. I don't know if there's any other last minute things you want to talk about or if we should start closing it out.
Yeah, let's start closing out. This was so fun though, and I loved this topic. I feel like it's funny how you always start with the topic and then we talked about a million things. I guess the last thing that I want to say is, I loved the last question that you asked about like growth strategies that you never expected to be growth strategies in your business. And I think it just goes to show that 1, you can't predict those things, but then 2, we said such different things and like there's no right or wrong way to do business. So hopefully it's permission for people to like break the rules, like experiment, know that your journey doesn't have to look like someone else's and that we're all destined to be successful in what we're doing and it's going to happen. And when we detach from like how we think it's going to happen, then we actually allow space for it to really happen.
Yeah, I love that. That's a great closing note. If you're still watching this live, feel free to send either of us. I'm sure it's okay with you.
Yeah.
That's your biggest takeaway or whatever. And make sure you follow both of us. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this live stream with me. I really appreciate it. And I hope we can collab in the future.
Yes, we definitely will. Thank you so much for having me. It was so fun. And I will see you guys soon.
Bye. Bye.